the challenges of operating in environments in a world that was not built with our sort of speedy brains in mind. And you asked me earlier about whether it's common for people of my age, of the sort of 40s, to start getting diagnosed, and it is. It's unfortunately we have or certainly when I was a kid, sort of wrong idea about ADHD. You hear about ADHD, and I did anyway. You think of the naughty little boy running around in the classroom causing trouble, and that wasn't my diagnosis. I was diagnosed with inattentive ADHD, much more internalized, much more prevalent in women, which is why a lot of women are not diagnosed until early 40s. Perimenopause comes along. There is a huge effect on ADHD, on the brain, on all of our sort of systems of hormones. The hormonal impact is absolutely enormous, but also it's the effect of effectively masking up, putting our sort of game face on to the world for years and years and years, and all of a sudden you just can't. You don't have the energy, and the mask drops. And that's where, people start having problems. And again, that is why a lot of people are getting diagnosed in later in life.
So the reason I put my book behind me is blatant marketing. No, it's not. It's actually very relevant to what you said about ADHD and sports people. So I work
Mm,
quite a lot in sport. I work with teams, but I also work with individuals. And many of the individuals I'm working with exhibit neurodivergence,
mm,
and it's a good thing. So you said it, I'm going to say it again. I've got athletes that I work with who are just exceptional at what they do at their sport. And one of the things that gives them I call it a 2 second advantage on most of the other players is
mm.
pattern recognition
Yeah.
and the ability to go, oh, I can see what's happening here before anyone else can. And therefore, I'm proactively going to do whatever it is in the sport that I'm doing to give myself an
Mm,
advantage. And you can see it. And certainly in our discussions, they just sound different to me. I just, as a sports person, I didn't have that ability, but I can see it in others. And that's exactly what you said. Pattern recognition is one of those elements of superpower that I see in the
mm.
top sports people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's exactly those kind of skills that are under-recognized, in a lot of businesses and a lot of sport context. And yeah, it's no surprise to me that there's a lot of neurodivergence in sports. And again, it's not picked up until, they might have pick up an injury, they might retire. All of a sudden, all of those traits that they had that made them so effective, and all of the sort of the structures, being told what to eat, how to train, where to be, all of this kind of thing, that structure falls apart, falls away, and all of a sudden they realize that, then that's when their neurodiversity becomes a problem because it's not being managed in the way that they've been managing it for their career.
Andrea Soldo has just asked a question. Is
Mm,
pattern recognition instinctive or is it cognitive? And the answer is really interesting because it actually exhibits as instinctive.
hmm.
So in the moment, it looks instinctive, but it's actually cognitive. It is the
Yeah.
brain working at a different speed to most of
Hmm.
everyone else. So it's
Yeah.
cognitive, it looks instinctive and
Yeah.
exhibits it as instinctive.
It's the brain effectively making up for a deficit in working memory. So you can't hold the thought, right, when this ball comes in, I'm going to put it over there because I know that it is instinct. It is your brain working almost too fast for your sort of cognition to sort of keep up with. And yeah, it is a very much a known trait, especially in ADHD athletes, that kind of rapid option generation, almost, yeah, instinctual feel.
Just for anyone who's interested in sport in this discussion we've just had, there is a film by Castrol. They're the sponsors of the film about Cristiano Ronaldo, and it shows exactly what we've just been talking about: predictive cognitive brilliance. And the simple exercise that they show is he is asked to head a corner. So the corner comes in and he's asked to score the goal, and he does. They then reduce the light to a point of complete darkness, and they turn the light off when the ball is halfway to where he's going to head it. So it goes completely dark and he still scores. And then, and this is the most remarkable, they turn the light out as the player that's taking the corner strikes the ball. So complete darkness at the point of striking the ball, and Ronaldo scores. You can see it in this Castrol documentary, and he scores with his shoulder. So they had infrared light. You can see that after you've heard the ball hit the net. They show infrared, and he actually scores with his shoulder, which is not a foul and counts as a goal. And afterwards, they said, "What made you do that? You were supposed to be heading it." And he said, "I just had a sense that it was in the wrong place to head, so I used my shoulder." In complete darkness. So they had constructed a studio that went genuinely completely dark. So you couldn't use your eyes at all, and he still scores.
Mm.
So this is the superpower that you're talking about, Alan.
Yeah,
Now it's
yeah,
come to that lovely
absolutely.
time where I'm going to do two things. I'd love to ask people, can you use chat to ask questions of Alan? So use chat. You're bound to have some questions. Could you use chat to put that in? I'm going to give Alan the chance to read some of them and then answer them after we've heard from Michelle Dillon, who's a really good friend of mine, is up super early this morning to join us. And Michelle, you have more
Yes,
than one boy,
I
but
do.
one of them
Yes.
is neurodivergent, and I'd love to hear from you
Mhm.
as a parent that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So my older son is diagnosed ADHD and ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, as well. My younger son is neurotypical. So it's been a very different parenting experience for me between both of my children. I would say that Alan, I really enjoyed how you used the term reframing when you are talking about neurodivergent people. And that actually goes for neurotypical people as well, being around neurodivergence, I think. My biggest takeaway, my biggest learning from parenting an ADHD child was that I had to reframe myself in not only
Mm.
how I spoke to him, how I listened to him, or just in general, understanding that my own bias would influence on how I parented him. So my biggest learning from this is different does not mean less than. I think it's really
Love that.
important for all of us to understand that different is not less than. It
Mm.
just means different. So checking our own bias at the door of the naughty boy running around in the classroom, or whatever other thoughts you might have about behaviors that are traditionally thought of with ADHD and other neurodivergence. It's up to us as parents of, leaders of, coworkers of, to change how we interact with these people to make them feel comfortable, to get the most that you can out of them. And I will tell you that it was not the easiest thing in the world for me to do that. It took quite some time to be able to figure out what worked and what didn't for our family. And the other thing I would really like to remind everyone, I think we're all on this call for a reason, because we have interest in what this means for us as a business, as a leader, as a coworker with our peers. Please ask for help. There are so many resources out there, books, talk to a behavioral psychologist, see your own counselor, and ask questions. There are so many ways to get support out there. And it's okay if you don't know the right things to do today. Ask people for help. And it will definitely make the experience easier, not only for you, but for the neurodivergent person that you are working with.
That's amazing, Michelle. Thank you. And yeah, two boys. I'm a dad
Mhm.
of boys, and unbelievably different in lots of different ways, but n not in a less than way.
Correct.
Thank you. That's really cool. Thank you. We've got some amazing questions in chat, Alan. And Ryan, I'd love you to start with Ryan's when he talks about what should I do then? Should I just carry on doing what I'm doing? So if you could start with Ryan, but there are some amazing questions in there. So over to you, Alan.
Mhm. Okay, so I'll just read out Ryan's question so everyone can hear it. Ryan says, if I think I might be neurodivergent, i.e. ADHD traits, should I pursue diagnosis and acknowledgement, or just keep doing what I'm doing? I would say absolutely pursue a diagnosis. Get the ball rolling today because unfortunately, through the NHS, you are going to be looking at several years of wait time until you can get that diagnosis. But having that diagnosis, whether you then take medication or not, it's your call. But having that diagnosis, for me, again, that was absolutely kind of state changing. It was life changing. It gave me the validation, knowing that I was not a weird horse. I was a zebra, a normal zebra, or a bit of a weird zebra, if I'm honest. But I was a zebra, not a broken horse. And then it was knowing about what these traits meant, knowing that I wasn't you know broken. I was just slightly differently wired. Yeah, I would absolutely start that process.
And also crucially, Ryan has lots of wonderful young children. And what is your experience and expertise, Alan, in terms of
Mm,
genetics? That if another one of the chat says, wife and daughter, and so what's the
mm.
genetic link, if there is one?
Well, as I said, it is a genetic link to have ADHD. This is not President Trump. If you take the wrong kind of aspirin, you're going to get autism in childbirth. There'll be a genetic link. Now, whether you identify or the parent identifies as ADHD or not, it's completely their call, but there will be a genetic link to one or both parents. How those symptoms manifest in those parents or those children will be unique to them. Some people, will be struggling more than others, but it's very situational. It depends on the context. You take two twins, both with the same condition, you put them in different homes, different upbringings, they're going to have completely different experiences of ADHD. So yeah, I would say pursue a diagnosis, understand how it's showing up for you. For me, obviously, I'm a coach. I'm going to say that coaching really helped me. But yeah, doing the research and finding out how to make it sort of show up better, if you like.
Uh, Louise has said, enjoying this, but also, can you share experience or advice on breaking down stigma in businesses and being a better
Mm.
ally?
Yeah, so unfortunately, there is a lot of stigma around disclosing of a condition like ADHD. I've been, some things that you'll find with ADHD is we like to overshare. Oh boy, do we like to overshare! And I'm happy to tell anyone that I meet that I have ADHD if they ask. For me, it's been a very positive thing. It's been something which I've sort of taken to heart, and it has given me the opportunity to kind of really advocate for what I might need out of certain situations. Um, but I would say you've just got to be honest. You've got to be truthful. You've got to be positive about these kind of conditions. The bottom line is it's not my fault and it's not my parents' fault that I have ADHD. It's a genetic condition. It's like saying, let's just pick on that person for having brown hair. Or yes, sorry, I'm aware that racism exists, but it's that level of daft. You can't pick on someone or, stigmatize someone for something that they have no control over. So better, one of the things that I'm here today for is improving the level of and the quality of the discussion around neurodivergence. Again, reframing this away from the medical model of deficit disorder and really improving people's understanding of ADHD. Because again, the more people who come forward and say, I have ADHD and this is my story, you're going to find that it's a lot more people than you think, and in a lot of positions that you would never have expected. Again, I work with, people on TV. I've got a rock star. I've got a kind of an actor, West End stage. I've got all these people who are absolutely excellent in so many areas of their lives. But then, they've got these kind of areas of struggle that we work with them in. And it's only in uh, understanding the areas of challenge and being able to kind of ask for help, advocate for what you need, that things can get better. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So it's um, really helping people understand the real lived experience of ADHD, and hopefully then they can start to be a little more empathetic.
Thank you. How do you invite discussions? So this is a do case question around how can we tailor or
Hmm.
invite discussion around this subject? It's almost like how do we initiate discussions?
Again, it's a tricky one because again, there should be you should never feel any pressure to disclose or reveal a diagnosis in your workplace, for example, or in a friendship group. It's your choice, completely your choice. But I think in a business capacity, it's improving, access to information. It is, getting people in to talk about their lived experience of ADHD. It is spreading the message of, Uspire and the very kindly putting on exactly this kind of resource so that people can really understand what it means and also what it doesn't mean. Again, combating that stigma, putting it into the world in a sort of in a positive way, in an open way, in an honest way, and addressing what it does and does not mean. So that's what I would advocate for.
I'm going to build on that because Kara's question, I
Mm.
think, is a good build. If you recognize neurodivergent behaviors in your team,
Hmm.
but you're also conscious that the person themselves may not be aware of that, how would you approach that appropriately?
Yeah. So again, don't go up to them and say, "Are you, is something, if you, something wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you?" Don't do that. But like I mentioned earlier, there are some of these really fantastic tools that you can use in your teams and ask people, what are your input output preferences? How do you want to be, you know, how do you want to be dealt with? You know, asking people to kind of really understand themselves and then advocate for what they might need in a workplace environment. You're not asking them to disclose a diagnosis. You're not asking them to say, look, I think you're ADHD. What do I do about that? You can say to them, look, how do you want us to work with you? What's the best way of getting the best productivity out of you as a person? Putting everything in a sort of person-centric way, rather than just saying, right, here's our policy, off you
Gosh,
go,
yeah, yeah.
to everyone. Look at the person, make it individual and person-centric, and then you'll find that people are more than happy to tell you what they might need.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's not do what we've always done. It's actually
Yeah.
ask proper coaching questions and
Mm.
then adapt your style. I've
Yes.
got one last question, conscious of
Mm.
everyone's time. This is from Francine. Do you have suggestions for a staff member with ADHD working successfully with a manager that also has ADHD? And the
Ooh,
manager is undiagnosed. The manager is undiagnosed,
right. Okay.
but
Again, very
exhibiting.
similarly, it's looking at your managerial style. What is the best way of getting the best work out of that manager? what is the best way of getting the best work out of that sort of employee. With that particular dynamic, I think it's again, you're not asking someone to disclose, you're not sort of pressurizing someone to pursue a diagnosis that they may not appreciate or may not want that that in their life at that particular time. But again, it's looking at the particular sort of personal styles of that particular employee and that particular manager. How do we get them to work best with each other? Involve both of those people in that decision process. And again, make it person-centric. There is a particular dynamic there that needs a bit of care and a bit of attention, and some probably careful monitoring. But it's again going back to those like psychological the C's of psychological safety. Make sure that there's certainty around what is being communicated both ways. The clarity, are they being absolutely clear with each other? Have they got a good connection? If not, what can we do to improve that connection? And, do they feel like they can both make informed decisions about their roles, their, their output within that business context?
Yeah, Alan, you're a superstar. I want to say a huge thank you to you and to Michelle for all of your thoughts and sharing. How do we get in touch with you, Alan, if we would love you to be a coach of ADHD?
Sure. So my website is wherefocusgoes.com, and you can reach me on alan@wherefocusgoes.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Alan Stracey, Stracey. Let me know. I offer a free 30-minute discovery call. We can talk about your own experience of ADHD and what you might want to achieve through coaching. But as Mark, you'll be keenly aware, coaching is a brilliant tool for a lot of people. And for ADHDers, I think it works particularly well because we're able to, generate the ideas ourselves rather than be told and directed what to do. So yeah, I'd be happy to help. Looking forward to speaking to anyone who wants to talk.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, everybody, for joining. It's been a wonderfully interesting and stimulating debate. Thank you so much, Alan.
Mm.
Michelle, thank you for sharing your story too.